the day I do a professional intro is probably the day that the next Hot Wheels game comes out, which is probably never. We can only wish. Outside of mobile games, the last one was on the PS3, and that was 2010. So, and World's Best Driver wasn't exactly an interesting game. They had like what, 4 cars? And I think only one of them had appeared in a different game. So yeah. Maybe I rely too much on the roster of the Hot Wheels game to keep my interest, because Velocity X for the GBA is a pretty good example of that. It's a really good roster of cars, except the game is repetitive and boring and frustrating. So anyway, back to the game at hand after I draw a mind blank for about 12 seconds. Let's look at the starting grid here. Mojo Jojo is on pole, and the Powerpuff Girls have been thoroughly screwed. Context, but, you know. Like, you can see the driver in the car just repeatedly putting his hand on the shifter, like, Buttercup is the only one of the girls that got a decent starting spot in 7th. And all of the Countachs started in front of her. How many will finish ahead of her? The number might get a lot higher if she doesn't keep that Corvette behind her. Oh, might have been here in the Cobra, but yeah, Danny's already gained 2 spots. Bubbles has already lost the 1 place she had, Metacog. And Blossom has gained a 2. XC3 has just not really had anything to show for in this championship so far. 3 rounds in, he and that are the only ones with no points, and he has what I think would be the best car here. However, the Powerpuff Girls have definitely been proving that wrong so far. Like, seriously, XC3, this pass is basically made for you. Yeah, especially when you just kind of force Blossom to do that and go to the beach. Which, usually she enjoys, but I don't think the car enjoys it. Actually, how do you wear a bow to the beach? Anyway. So Fast has passed Buttercup, and now that is in her way. And this is the girls' favorite track, even if it's not their home course, so their lack of performance here, while done partially to the starting grid, it's not really much better looking from this perspective, as that nearly goes off-roading. How many races have not been won by a Cartoon Network character? Because the girls are doing terribly this time, and Mojo Jojo is winning. How ironic is that? Planned? I don't know. Maybe it's symbolic of something. Also, it's a wonder. I think maybe the Hot Wheels characters keep them in check when it comes to this, but it's really a wonder that Mojo Jojo doesn't make more homicide attempts against the girls, given, you know, their history. You know how that goes. Maybe they bonded over the Fusion Fall events. Maybe not. I mean, Professor Utonium did basically have all 4 of them at one, create all 4 of them in a sense, so... Hair in my face. Maybe, but I doubt it, really. Mojo Jojo doesn't seem like the one to, have regressions like that. Well, unfortunately for you, Mojo Jojo, you can't just use your power to escape the Corvette. The Corvette kind of ties you in that regard. Now it comes down to the better driver and the better cornering ability, especially here at Brands Hatch, where there's only one really good straightaway to use the horsepower your vehicle has available to it. Somehow Burn is holding third. Never mind. Dexter is here to basically shut me up, as Burn also goes off-roading, basically the exact same way that did on the last lap. And Buttercup has re-overtaken two of the Countachs, looking for So Fast, which she almost gets. She does get, for the moment. But I don't think it'll be long before So Fast fires back. Her sister's... No, actually, never mind that. I was going to say that, but Blossom has actually moved up significantly. Danny has had a problem. Same as that. Let's see what happened. I'm assuming something had to have happened. You don't just lose 6 places in one turn. Right, JUS. Yeah, he's clearly in like 8th here. There's Buttercup storming around that by nearly pushing him off the road. Danny is forced into the same line. What happens? Wrong lap. That's what happens. Okay, next lap. Have they just been passed by that many cars? No, there's still plenty behind them. So what happens? Camera, 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 camera. There we go. That goes for a ride. Nearly runs directly into Otto. On the curbs. We're almost 3 wide here. We are 3 wide here. The governor is crazy and just straight up dumps Danny into that. And this places them in last. Alright, Governor, I see how you're going to play the game today. And he benefited largely out of it because he's moved up 2 places. Granted, so has everyone else, but he did the moving. Literally moved it up 2 places. And Blossom is now in points. And Bubbles, not very far from it. However, she has 2 Cobras and an Alfa Romeo to pass. Meanwhile, at the front, 16 Angels is still at a dead heat with Mojo Jojo. As we approach the final turn for 2 laps to go. Oh yeah, that's right. I covered Buttercup passing So Fast already. And now she's just right on top of Burn. And she will have beaten every Countach in the race if she makes the pass, which she's gonna try and do. Could work. Every Countach has that same strategy. Buttercup, sort of, wow, that takes a lot to muscle Burn out of the way. Just, is Burn intimidated by the Powerpuffs? Is that what it is? Is he really intimidated by them? Because Buttercup just basically gave him the deadlock stare, and he's just like, oh, okay, have the place, and So Fast just takes advantage. I wonder if that's a plot point I can have here. The Burn. Burn is the alien of the group, literally from Jupiter, but maybe he knows what the girls did to other aliens. Probably knows not to mess around with them. That would actually make a lot of sense. Because if you look into the design of the planet that Fuse, like, has, or is, or commands, created? I think created. I'm gonna go with that as the valid terminology. Jupiter is part of the design, like, planet Fuse is absorbing the other planets, and you see the planets of our solar system in there. Other than Venus and Mercury, because it hasn't technically gotten to them yet. But, other planets like Uranus, Jupiter, Saturn. I think Pluto is in there somewhere. I'm not sure. I don't remember very closely. I just know there's planets in our solar system involved in the design of the thing. So, I guess whatever I said about the girls being a disappointment here at their home track, or their favorite track, is now, but, pure dust. As Buttercup just establishes dominance with 4 overtakes in 2 laps. And the fastest lap of the race. So, had this race gone on for many more laps, she only has to catch 5 seconds and she'd get to her arch-enemy Mojo Jojo, but there's not time for that. The Corvettes have done quite well in this race, for sure. So, Burns kind of becoming like the kind of in-between character. He hates the robots, but is scared of the... either scared or has a deep respect for the Powerpuff Girls, which, in either regard, would make perfect sense. We have Alex, who has a fondness for the girls, possibly due to past experiences. He hasn't really elaborated on that. He definitely has a fellowship for the girls, especially Blossom. I don't know why her specifically, but he does. The robots and Dexter have gotten along because Dexter keeps them in good repair. A couple of times the robots have been wrecked in races and Dexter fixed them up for the next round, even if he's competing against them. Which, that is sportsmanship that I honestly don't see in Dexter. Because if you know his character, he's kind of self-absorbed because he's a really smart kid, as most of them usually are. A lot of the nerdy kids are like, haha, I'm smarter than you. And Dexter fits that to a T. Yeah, in that one lap, it went from 5 seconds between them to 3.5. And another fastest lap. Buttercup was just cruising. If this were a 6-lap race, I think Dexter would be pissing himself right now. Yeah, almost an entire second faster than anyone else. 6/10 over Dexter, and he was the second fastest car. Blossom was also getting up there, but Bubbles just had nothing. She had like the second slowest lap. And Danny, despite getting run off the road, still managed to pass her for 13th. Disappointment. So Buttercup's championship is not terribly wounded by that. She's still leading. But of course, like I said, that is not the main focus of this. The focus is still the team championship, which I will not update, but I'm grabbing the notebook for because I left it on the floor. So it is 4 points between Buttercup and Mojo Jojo, and then Dexter is behind that, and then Blossom is only 1 point off of Dexter. So it's a very cartoon affair. Bubbles being the only one to kind of fall out of favor there. Still at 11 points. Almost barely more than 1/4 of what Buttercup has. Essentially, if Buttercup outscores Bubbles, she will have more than 4 times her points. When I think of like who is battling in the championship, it's basically anyone. We're battling for the championship. It's anyone within 15 points, because that means that with a topsy-turvy race, that person could take the lead. As we move on to Red Bull Ring, we'll be seeing a little bit of this later in a time loop, where the actual first episode of that will be at Red Bull Ring, a 15-minute race, but played as a different character rather than Alex. Alex, just the example character, because I wouldn't say he's the poster boy or will be the poster boy of the series, but he's definitely one of them. It's either him or Ryan Storm with the product placement car. As the corner of my room has now become the location of weird scraping noises. You might even be able to hear them. This headset picks up literally anything. I do believe it to be a mouse. Can't confirm, but odds are high. Starting grid. Buttercup gets help again. Right in front of Mojo, so she needs a good launch. And her sister's down the order. What is with the starting grid being rigged for Buttercup today? What did Bubbles do to you, starting grid? The starting grid is its own character now, I guess. That's how I treat it sometimes. I directly address the starting grid like it's a living being. Like, no it is not, you moron. Let's just see how Mojo Jojo doesn't get off the line. And loses 2 places off the start. No, 1. I'm dumb. That's just my username is there. Otto gets feisty, but to no avail. This is definitely a track where the drivers will definitely need to watch out for the Lamborghinis and their braking points. A lot of heavy braking zones on this track, so it wouldn't be hard for a Countach to just do something stupid and absolutely thrash you. But they have done something. I think that probably hit Blossom. Yep. She doesn't like being hit there. No one does, obviously. This time Blossom is the one kind of suffering. I can't imagine being hit by that as helping matters any. As she and the governor are now too wide in turn 4. Blossom is almost... yeah, Blossom's broken even. Bubbles has gained a place. XC3 has lost 3 already. 2 more potential positions in front of her. Mojo Jojo seems to be suffering for speed here, and Otto is in a Countach, so as long as she can get around him and avoid the braking zone vengeance, she might be good for 2 places here, as Mojo Jojo takes her all the way to the bottom of the track. Yeah, you might want to just hold your ground and get back over there, as Burn defensively outbrakes Metacog definitively, and so fast will proceed to take the money and run. Let's watch the Countaches here. Burn really can't do anything. He has to defend from Metacog, but from here there's not much you can do to hit him. Otto is nowhere even near anybody, and neither is that. So the Countaches are in no place right now, as Blossom and the Governor are still dueling. XT3 has passed Bubbles. Incredible, or the, not incredible, but the extra power in the Alfa Romeo probably did all of that. Burn has lost 2 places in like 3 corners. And Captain Falcon, who once drove a weaker version of the car the girls are in, is directly behind all of this. So we have a 5-car train of 4 different cars, except one Cobra leads and the other Cobra is in the back of the line. Actually, you know, Danny's kind of in the train too. Disregard that, I guess. Because despite everything, the lead Alfa Romeo is still Mojo Jojo. Getting some interesting lines here from Dexter, who's gone all the way to the bottom of the track and actually outspeeds the Governor. And kind of passive-aggressively blocks him off so he can't even attack afterwards. Mojo Jojo has made the move on Otto. Will he retaliate? Possibly. Can he retaliate? He definitely could have. He just didn't. Actually, 3 seizes the moment to get right alongside of Otto. And easy. Bubbles, however, not close enough to follow suit. And she just kind of stays put. Buttercup now, too, is also having some problems. She's been passed both by Captain Falcon, and I imagine in that process, Danny just took advantage. But she needs not be passed by Mojo Jojo. Because although it wouldn't necessarily... I don't think Mojo can take the points lead by just passing her alone, but it gets closer than she needs it to be. But ideal situation, she either passes Danny back at some point in the near future, possibly if Danny goes for his own move on Captain Falcon or Burn if circumstance allows for that, and gets around the losing party of that confrontation. That or X23 maybe passes his teammate, as Captain Falcon just screams past Burn in such a way, though, that Danny can't even begin to take advantage. That's a lap time, 1:44.666. Where's him? Now Buttercup is getting feisty now. And that was very indecisive. She just took the... I don't think there even was the opportunity. She just took it anyway, and then... Well, that's a Corvette. Good luck staying ahead of that on the straightaway, sweetheart. Very lousy braking dive. So, and by that I mean it didn't happen anyway. X23 is on Mojo's footsteps, but I don't think that's the distance to where he can pass him, though. Not in this situation. Bubbles looking at potentially a point here, if Otto gives way at some point. Battle for the lead. There isn't one. There just blatantly isn't one. 16 Angels is the only thing preventing a Shelby 1-2-3. I don't think Captain Falcon's close enough to make it a reality. Buttercup has Burn in front of her. See if maybe she can muscle her way around like she did in the last race. Or if that was a one-off and Burn just was panicked, maybe? Oh, you were 1,000th off, Medicog. You almost had a 1:44.44.4. That would have been momentous. I thought for a second Buttercup was getting a huge run on Burn. It's a run, but the way she handled it didn't really help. Yeah, it's a lot harder to brake dive on a Lamborghini because their brakes are so bad that their aggressive braking is your aggressive braking. Their normal braking is your aggressive braking. They might even be trying to defend from you. That is where they have to stop. Burn actually locks up the tires. Bubbles does end up getting around Otto. Maybe she can stay ahead? We'll see. I think so. At least ahead of Otto. But can she remain ahead of Dexter is now the pressing issue there. Blossom just didn't have anything for anybody in this race. She might not, I don't think she'll even be able to get around Otto. And possibly the most the most indecisive race so far. So Fast has a track record here at Red Bull Ring, I have to imagine. He's won here at least 3 times in recent memory, or memory period. And now, like this one at least, he's won at least 3 times, possibly a 4th that I'm not remembering. I think the Shelby Cobras are just really good here, given... Like, I would say it helped with their starting grid, but Captain Falcon was in 9th, and he came back to 4th. Also, Danny with the fastest lap. That's like Danny's thing. He's not good at racing, but he's apparently good at stunts, finding things, combat, and hot laps. He's like the opposite of me, except I'm actually good at combat. That is still the only one to not score. We're 5 races in. Slingshot, dude. You are Slingshot, dude. Like, how are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And Bubbles has finally scored again for the first time in 2 rounds. Anywhere from Monza, where I would expect that the Alfa Romeos and Cobras and Corvettes will have a field day, the Powerpuffs and the Countachs likely to struggle. Especially the Powerpuffs, I think. This will probably be their worst race, because, at least for the Countachs, if they get aggressed, they don't hesitate to ram somebody out of their way to regain the place. Especially here at Monza, where there's 3 different places where you could fathomably do so. And 3 different places where we've seen them do so. As been kind of disappointing, there haven't really been many Countach crushes. They've been really passive, and that's honestly kind of backfired in that perspective, because he doesn't have any points yet. And if he's lucky, he might score 1 or 2 here, but I think his goal should be like 8th or 9th at best. And that even being if he starts on the front. Well, he does. He starts on pole, and the 3 Powerpuff Girls in a line behind him. I became a kid again. Oh, I still am, by definition, but that's beside the point. So now we really see how Burn auto, just out of nowhere, like, scared the crap out of me, honestly. I didn't see that coming. But now I guess we see how Burn reacts to the Powerpuffs being in his vicinity. Does he attack them? Does he respect them and respect their space? Which I don't think he has a choice. He has... That's that. I'm dumb. That's not Burn. Burn is in 14th. Burn could not possibly be further from here. And I'm pretty sure that is incredibly neutral to just about anybody, except for maybe So Fast and 16 Angels, where he may have a slight grudge. But, as right now, this is great for all of the top 4. Because that would probably like to get some points at some point in this championship. This might be his best chance to do so for this foreseeable future. And as soon as Buttercup clears him, he's also their best tool. Because if he decides to get frisky with somebody, he can kind of keep them behind him. Keep them behind the girls. And therefore, the girls can actually get the all top 3 this time, instead of it being spoiled by... Was it So Fast before? Buttercup, not from there. That's not going to go. That's not going to work. And, nor is that line, I don't think. Not optimum, that's for sure, but... Well, she made the turn, obviously. Be really confused if somehow the AI missed on their own. The AI aren't the brightest in this game, but they're not that dumb, as I see. Like, he's had 1 too many vodkas. They're there. Now she should do it. And, smart to do it here. Force that into a very dumb line. And, not sit on the curb. It's not a bench. It is a curb. And run for your life before either of the Countachs can hit you. Which, she isn't doing that terribly well right now. She's doing it, not... I don't think she's good enough. If that wanted to, he could easily run off the road. It seems maybe he knows what I said. Maybe he, like, listened and is like, okay, I need to score points. I don't want to risk that by hitting them. But I can definitely stay ahead of Otto. My teammate can also be a third layer of protection. The girls are more protected than a SWAT team guy wearing body armor. They had like the Countach enforcers behind them. But who are they really being protected from? Because it doesn't seem like So Fast and 16 Angels, the kind of lead cars outside of those five, they don't really seem very offensive either. Well, So Fast has decided to prove me wrong the moment I say that, but 16 Angels almost looks down on power here. Doesn't work for So Fast. Kind of scares the crap out of 16 Angels a little bit. Otto! Any more locking and you might as well become a keysmith. My god. Well, the girls aren't close to each other, but they are all in the front. Maybe they're just keeping their personal space. So Fast now does clear the first layer of Lamborghini protection. 16 Angels may attempt to follow suit. Otto didn't like that. Oh god, Otto did not like that. There's the Countach driving the Lino. Just immediately shuts down So Fast, and 16 Angels will just gain those two places with ease. Who's Dexter racing there? Oh, must have been Mojo Jojo. Must have passed him out of the chicane. Dexter has the Alfa Romeo Brigade behind him. After X3 passed, or no, Metacog, yeah, Metacog passed, or he passed, his former mentor. Governor has a look, but that corner is really hard to pass through for even real life, or even, like, real life race car drivers, let alone AI versions of them. Danny is struggling, to say the least. As I say that, and he almost completely whiffs that turn. Even Byrne almost passed him from that mistake. He just lacks the power to even try. The Countaches are just kind of like... they're kind of like the appetizer in this race. As Mojo Jojo has now passed Otto. Battle some Cobras at the back of the field. Actually no, I'll keep the camera here, because this is going to be interesting. Captain Falcon just swerved in a straight line. Buttercup does have the fastest lap at the moment, which is kind of weird. These things are not all that fast. The Corvettes and Cobras are definitely faster in a straight line, I think. I would assume they are. I know the Corvettes and also the Alfa Romeos are. I cannot confirm if the Cobras have a higher top speed. They have better acceleration, for sure. But do they have a higher top speed? So, this is kind of interesting, though. Well, this is great for the team thing. This is the first 1, 2, 3 for any team. The Powerpuff Girls have absolutely dominated Monza. With, I think some assistance from that being quite passive about it. He's now since submitted to 16 Angels, but he gave the girls a lot of breathing room. 7 seconds to anybody else for Buttercup. I don't know, I don't think it was honestly intentional on that part. He was just looking after himself and actually looking at scoring some points in this championship for the first time. It took him long enough for halfway through the championship. He could easily score from this. He could easily scored earlier at Brands Hatch, but Governor was just like, nah, I don't really feel like that's gonna happen. And just kind of ejected them like a really bad PS2 disc. And I definitely have plenty of experience with that. Specifically, Velocity X. Actually, my Velocity S dick. Cancel that. Velocity X disc max. Go get that disc. It's honestly a miracle that thing works. It has like many scratches, to say the least. Relish Rampage, the Powerpuff Girls PS2 game, is also not the greatest shape. I had the first data corruption ever occur for me on that game. I've actually since refinished it because it's a 3.5-hour game. As you can probably imagine, a Powerpuff Girls game doesn't really tend to be that long. None of them are. If you know what you're doing, you can finish any game under the Powerpuff Girls moniker in like 4 hours. Some less than that. About the only game that'll give you any struggle for that is Defenders of Townsville, which is basically a Steam game lost to time, but there's still YouTube videos on it. It's like a Metroidvania game, which isn't very different from what GBA games are, Him and Seek and Mojo Jojo Go-Go, which Him and Seek is actually a fetch quest game and are technically an RPG, but not really. And Mojo Jojo Go-Go, the one that you said you considered playing, and such announcement being the actual original reason why the girls are even here. Fun fact. I think I mentioned that before at least once. I would be kind of surprised if I had not. But that is, I guess you would classify that as a bullet hell game. So it would have gotten quite spicy if this were a 6-lap race. Pun actually not intended. Get it? Spice, sugar, spice, everything nice. Insert rim shot here. Anyway, because another lap and Buttercup would have been right on top of her sisters. And yeah, this is great for the team points, championship points. F1 calls it the constructors standings, which is easier to say than team points and sounds better. But it, what? I see that on the game. It doesn't help much in Buttercup's championship. The race is over. Please stop. I saw interesting things on the leaderboards. What the heck happened? Auto runs into Metacog. So fast it's already stopped. What TV cameras are there? Cripes. Okay, so you're so fast going for the pass on that, not so that. Not so Raven, not really. He definitely completes the pass. My English is going to hell again. Please no. One lap to go. And here comes that, I presume. Indeed, he is definitely not braking properly, and so fast gets thrashed for the second time. And then, not much later, here comes Otto, runs directly into his old creation, Metacog, offs himself. Metacog gets away fine. And then before that, we had Captain Falcon, who I saw was DNF'd. 2x2 in Variante Ascari, as the corner is called. Oh my god! And then Danny just clips him and see you later. Oh my god, Captain Falcon. Yes! Show me your moves! Game set! So that was interesting to watch. We had like a suicide pact going here. 3 illuminated vehicles, and well, that all happened. I don't even know. I don't even know how to call that. So yeah, a very clumped up bunch of cars ended up in this race. The 3 Lotuses, then 2 of the 3 Corvettes, then the Alfa Romeos, and then it just became chaos from 9th on down. Chaos control! Anyway, so the point standings, Buttercup now has an almighty 10-point lead. Bubbles actually, that might have been intentional. Bubbles actually gains a massive boost and rockets her way up to 7th in points just from 1 win. Blossom catches back up a little bit with the rest of the competition to get up to 4th. And 15 away from her sister, who is leading the way at 56 points. Because what I think I was going to mention was, this isn't helping Buttercup's championship all that much individually. For maximum payoff from this race, as far as an all-for-one perspective, if Buttercup were to have won, she would be 5 points more ahead of Mojo Jojo, and an entire race would be required for him to catch her in points. If he won, that is. But they may also be going for the group mentality of, you know, if all 3 of the girls are towards the top, then there's no possible way that mathematically any team could be beating them. So maybe that's why they stayed in their places. Of course, Buttercup did kind of lick the staff and send it on Blossom after the race, but I don't know if that was out of spite because she's Buttercup and, you know, that's kind of what she does, is try to annoy her sisters. Or if that was just because she thought she needed the extra 2 points, which, I mean, they wouldn't hurt, but... Actually, I think that would have been smarter on their part. Blossom would have been in 4th either way, and then it would be 12 points to Mojo Jojo, which means Mojo would need 2nd. It's just a tie. So now I shall do the points. For the different teams, that although he did finally score, he's still last in points. Self-sacrifice, plus he did have all of the fast cars right behind him. My best guess is the kind of the personality that drivers tend to take around the Powerpuffs compared to each other. They're definitely aware of what's happened to the girls in the past, like, you know, their past in general. There's no real given timeline. I'm not going to try and bother to come up with one for 3 specific characters. 4, if you look at it with Mojo Jojo involved. 17... 36 and 45. 98. Cobras. 258. 81. Lotuses. 124. And finally the Alfa Romeos with 67. Mojo Jojo is putting in work, but his teammates are less successful, to say the least. So yeah, that's gonna be it for part 2 here of Act 18. In the next episode, we get the Highlands, Mugello, and Silverstone. Though that wouldn't be the end of Silverstone, because we still end the championship on the classic circuit of Silverstone. We finally have everybody having scored points, which I'm honestly shocked it took this long. Especially if it's that took so long to score. He really does not like that Countach, I guess. Even though Slingshot would in concept not be all that different. It's just a newer version of the same car. They're both midship sports cars. You'd think they wouldn't drive all that different. But here we are. But yeah, that does lead me to wonder how each other characters, I guess not personalities, but yeah, I guess other personalities react and change when faced with one of the Powerpuffs. Because we've seen Burn either fears or respects Buttercup. Alex has a fondness for them. This may be because they both have, well, now a kind of troubled past. Because with Alex, you know, Silhouette was one of his close friends here. He went missing for an incredibly long time after Stunt Track Challenge because of what that did to Silhouette in the Monsters of the Deep race. The year he returned as that, not Slingshot. Or not just as Slingshot. And, yeah, Silhouette goes missing for over a year, well, almost a year. Comes back as Silhouette, and then I end up accidentally killing him in a car crash, right with Alex there to witness it. So Alex has basically lost his best friend twice. And the first time the presumed missing thing for over a year was almost the same situation that happened to Buttercup that the girls went through. She, took a laser to the face and got sent off into the ocean. Well, guess what's in Monster of the Deep? The ocean. I imagine So Fast probably reserves something for them. Or has some sort of... not astoundment, that's not a word. Not resentment, that's a bad thing. I don't know, but essentially, I guess, just overuse the word respect because I can't think of anything else. Given his, his past with Greased Lightning, who is, of course, now safe. But, I mean, So Fast, well, busy hot-lapping with Greased Lightning, manages to miss So Fast, or that capturing Greased Lightning and trying to enslave him, and therefore corrupting him into the creature into the thing he was in World Race. He's still human. I don't know why I said creature there. Not as relatable, but something that So Fast endured and led him down not only a path to revenge, but also for a while a path of emotional instability. Because he's one of those two. He blamed himself for Greased Lightning's disappearance. He blamed himself for the bowling alley. Which that was never prevented in this timeline. We haven't gone back in time. Grease Lightning is still a good guy. All that stuff. Of course, Burn, with, like I said, the whole alien residents, maybe, respect because they saved his home planet from being permanently absorbed by Planet Fuse. Maybe fear, specifically of Buttercup, because of her aggressive personality. Like Burn doesn't have one of his own, because of what they have done to aliens in the past, specifically with the Planet Fuse incident. But they've dealt with other aliens before as well. Perhaps the robots might also look on in subtle distrust because of the fact that the girls have destroyed so countless many numbers of robots throughout their endeavors from Mojo Jojo's army. They fear that they tick them off and they'll meet the same fate. Otto, I imagine, doesn't like them much because he and Mojo Jojo have something of a relationship. It makes it sound like they're in love. And a partnership. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. I don't know about the Golden Tetrad or any other characters that aren't here. Hard to develop relationship with characters that are not present. So I know Raceman. The girls have, he has the girls' gratitude because his snap saved them from, or most likely saved them from Carbon's minions. But besides that, unknown with anybody else, and I guess it doesn't have to be unknown yet. Well, like with that, for example. Granted, I mean, not by intention or not, we don't know. He just allowed the first triple podium, the first podium lockout of the series, when he decided to not try and even do anything to Buttercup in the last race. So maybe that hints at something, but of all people, I have a hard time believing that has a good relationship with anybody, let alone somebody like, them. Okay, so before I get into the 20-minute rant about basically nothing, I'm just going to end the video here. I haven't eaten in 5 hours, and, other things that would cause me to want to get out of here. So maybe later tonight there may be an episode of Time Loop, the first episode. I don't know if I'll have the time to record that, but if I do, I very well may. My throat is getting dead now, so yeah, we're out of here.